Police emergency.
Hi, I've been burgled.
Police emergency.
Hi, I've got intruder in my house. My house is in ruins.
Hi, our house has been burgled. He
Okay.
smashed through the back window and took everything.
Police emergency.
Oh, hello. I've just walked in from being away. I've been burgled.
In October 2024, we started having a series of burglaries that were seen across the Macclesfield local policing unit. We very quickly were able to establish that these incidents all carried varying similarities. So the offenders, they would typically climb up onto the first floor balcony, smash their entry into the property, and then ransack, stealing items of high value jewellery, watches, cash and other items that were of sentimental value to many of the victims in the case. It was very quickly established that Cheshire were not alone in this, and that our neighbours were also seeing the same high value burglaries and the same MO that was used by these offenders. It was from that then that we were specifically looking at forensics, if there was anything at scenes, footwear marks, just anything that we could cluster the investigation. Cheshire is unique in that we have our brilliant footwear unit, so they were able to code and review all the footwear. And from that, we broke the incidents down into clusters in order to look for a commonality between them. We then looked at ANPR, and we were able to identify a common vehicle that had attended most, if not all, of those incidents. That vehicle registered to Christian Grobcatch, and that was the first sort of line of inquiry that we had with a potential suspect for the investigation. Our neighbours in Staffordshire, they had had a DNA hit come through in the March of 2025, and this was for an Endrick Nikolai. I think at that point we were questioning if Nikolai and Grobcatch were linked, if they were two separate entities. All we knew at this point was that they were both Albanian nationals that were living in the West Midlands area of the country. We then started looking specifically at Nikolai and Grobcatch and their phone data. We were able to put the link together as who else this team were particularly operating with. What we knew from CCTV was that there were at least 3-4 of them that were at the properties, and it was sort of looking at that wider picture as to who else may be involved in the investigation. Staffordshire were then completing inquiries. They were able to establish that there was Nikolai and 2 other unknown males to the investigation that were regularly meeting up at Costa Coffee in the Jewellery Quarter in Birmingham on a pretty much daily basis on a morning. Further inquiries were made as to the identity of these males, and they were now known to the investigation as George Pepper and Christian DeAndrea. Their phones, strikingly, were up and down the country. And when you delved into it to look specifically for the date of the burglaries, they were in and around the area at the right times. It was from there that we were able to establish that they were opting to use hire vehicles. When we made inquiries with the hire companies, we were able to identify that they were hired out to Jade Tub. So we were then able to establish from West Midlands Police at a recent incident that Jade and Nikolai were in a relationship with one another.
You have multiple handbags in your address, which you've not accounted to why they aren't stolen, but you stated in your interview, you took all my handbags. You refer to yourselves as Bonnie and Clyde, and they are a couple that commit crime.
And it was really then moving forward to what a strike day looked like and how we were going to manage that between multiple forces, which kind of led us on to then Wednesday the 2nd of July 2025, we had multiple arrests.
Hands out! Behind your back! Behind your back! Look up.
There was one outstanding suspect that day that we were expecting to arrest, Christian DeAndrea, and very quickly Cheshire's Serious and Organised Crime Unit began their 24-hour manhunt in order to locate DeAndrea. What struck the strike teams the most and the search teams was sort of the quantity of material that was at the home addresses. They seized a multitude of items, jewellery, handbags, watches, and I think the scale of it really hit home as to what they had kept. Christian DeAndrea was arrested in Staines in Surrey on the Thursday, and come Friday the 4th of July, all 5 suspects had been charged and remanded into custody.
Why are you in a hire vehicle in Cheshire at the scene of the burglary?
discussed that you're linked to Christian Diendrovich, Christian Grokaj, George Lishaj. Telecoms show that you're often in the same area as each other. Your blood has been found inside 2 of those houses. Do you have any explanation for that other than you being involved in this conspiracy?
And there's evidence to suggest you were in those areas
Dhe ka evidenca pra që sugjeron që ti ke qenë ato zona
at time that burglaries have taken place.
në orët kur ka ndodhur vjedhjet.
Explain that to me.
Na shpjegoj këtë gjë më.
The investigation is taking a point where we're now reviewing the phone downloads. And it was then that it became apparent that there was still other suspects that were involved in the case.
You're under arrest, okay? Conspiracy to commit burglary between October 24 and March 25, okay?
I think for me personally, this has been one of the biggest investigations that I've worked on as a detective sergeant, and I think the scale of it, not only just internally from everyone that we've worked in for Cheshire, but also all the other forces across the country that we've worked on for this case, it wouldn't have been possible to achieve the justice that we have done for all the victims up and down the country, particularly for Cheshire, from SOCU through to our analytical support, forensics, the footwear unit, and also the officers that are from the local policing units that attend those incidents and see those victims in that darkest hour. Whilst we can't take away the emotional impact that this crime has had on all the victims of the investigation, what we do hope is that the results will bring some closure to those victims. For anyone that's intent on committing crime within our communities within Cheshire, I hope that this case shows that we will leave no stone unturned, and as a force we will travel the length and breadth of the country to ensure that our victims have that justice.